go for it.
That?
Yeah, go ahead, flip it over.
I feel so helpless right now.
You got it. We
Okay.
did it. Yeah, you good? Do you need do you want water or anything?
If you have any, but
Yeah.
that's okay if you don't have any.
Okay, not here. I'll bring some afterwards.
Okay, yeah. Well, anyway, yeah. Are we on?
Oh, wait, here's a fresh one.
Oh, good. Thank you.
No problem. We are on. This is happening. It's not live, though. This will go up in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But it's on YouTube, and then hopefully I want to get this on Spotify soon.
Well, I slept late because the time changed, and I went to a birthday party last night and stayed very late.
Oh, nice.
My guitar player, I have 2 guitar players, and the one guitar player's birthday was yesterday. And
Which guitar player is that?
Anthony Solis.
Oh, Anthony Solis.
You know him?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was his birthday,
Nice.
and so we had a big celebration at Cafe Nella.
Oh, very cool.
I made a big cake with those little yellow peeps all over.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Can you open this?
Oh,
one?
sure. Yeah, no problem.
I can't do anything right now.
No problem.
I need assistance to help me to do everything.
Hey, you drove here. No problem.
Yeah, that's amazing.
What's funny though is usually people don't know how to park up here, but you live in Mount Washington, so you parked right up on the side there.
I came
You were
up on
good
the
to
driveway
go.
the first time.
Oh,
I thought one of those 2 cars were yours, and I thought, well, it won't matter if I park there because they're your cars. Are they your cars?
They're not, but it's fine. Where you parked is good. And
is this your whole place?
This is actually my family's house. This is not my permanent residence.
I see.
Yeah, so I used to live in a big house, which I think you might have been to. I'm sure the Twisted Black Soul house. Maybe you went.
I don't know if I did or not.
A lot of people we knew, came to the house. People from Cafe Nella. It was in East LA, on Eastern. God, this cat. You just want to walk back in.
He wants to check out the scene.
I know.
Yeah, my cat's the same kind of cat, but he's a lighter color.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have light-colored floors like this, but even lighter.
Oh, and he blends in?
Yeah, and he blends in.
Yeah.
So I was calling him Flory for a long time.
Oh, that's cute.
But Buttercup stuck, but...
Yeah.
Ed, you know Ed?
Yes, Dirty Ed.
Yeah, Dirty Ed.
Yeah.
He calls him BC.
Why?
Instead of Buttercup.
Oh, but I see. Short for
Buttercup. It's more manly, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it's a boy, and I call him Buttercup.
Right. Oh, that's a cute name, especially for a boy. Boy cat, at least.
Yeah.
I think it works well. Yeah, this is a boy cat. He used to. His name's OJ, not because he's orange, because he used to attack my uncles in the middle of the night.
He did?
Yeah.
Your uncle?
No, he would attack my uncles. Sorry, that cat is not mine. That's my uncle's cat.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and my uncles used to live in a house together, and so the cat would attack them when he was a kitten, when they just got him.
Oh,
He would attack him in the middle of the night.
Oh.
Yeah, so they called him OJ.
Oh. Well, I have a mean cat outside, and he's so mean, and he's, trying to belong to the family, but he just wants to kill Buttercup all the time. So
Aww.
I could never think of a name for him, like Killer or whatever.
Yeah.
But now I found a name. He's a big gray cat, and I call him Thor.
Nice.
Thor, that's my cat now.
That's a great name.
Yeah, for this cat, it really works.
Yeah.
But did you know that I'm looking for a drummer again?
Yes. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're old drummer. Yeah, so you are Rosemary Reyes from the Rosemary Reyes Band.
Yes.
And you recently lost your drummer.
Yes, I mean, when I first, did you know my drummer? Did you ever meet him?
I didn't meet, no. I saw him live. I saw him with you maybe once or twice.
With me?
Yeah.
He was in that band Lost for Concern, too.
I didn't see that band.
And that's how I first saw him. And I was looking for a drummer at the time, and I had a couple of offers, but I knew they weren't the right drummer. And so then I saw him playing one night, and I was all by myself watching him play in Lost for Concern.
Yeah.
And I just said, that's him.
Yeah.
That's the one I've been looking for.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's 32 years old. He's gorgeous. He's, fit. And he's like an animal when he plays the drums. And I knew that was the one I wanted, but I thought, how's he ever going to be in my band, you know? But it all worked out. And but I knew that he was not going to stay forever. As soon as
Right.
something better came along,
Oh, dang.
and what came along was money. Money came along to pay him, and
Sure.
so I wish him all the best. But we are going to do a major CD together. He's
Nice.
coming back to do that
Yeah, that's good.
because we have to document what we do, what him and I did together.
Right.
And so he's coming back for them, but he's the best, and I just don't know how I'm gonna. But I was always like had all this angst because I kept wondering when is he gonna leave, you know, because he was
Yeah.
so great.
Yeah.
He's such a great drummer, but he's playing with some band from New York right now that are paying him to play, and that's the road he wants to be on.
Right. Sure.
So I don't blame him.
Yeah, I don't blame him either.
And when the night before we ever played together, he was at Cafe Nella, and I just said, he's from France, and he goes, so are you excited for us to play tomorrow? And I go, oh, yes, I'm very excited. How about you? And he goes, oh, yes, me too. And then I said, but I just want to ask you one question. Why are you want to be in a band with me, you know? Because I'm not your average person in a band,
Sure.
you know? I did have a punk rock band 35 years ago, but, you know, I'm not that same person anymore.
Yeah.
And so anyway, he thought for a few moments. I mean, he really gave it thought. And he says, he says, when I came from France to this country, I came for opportunity. And he says, you are my opportunity now.
Wow.
So I took that as a big compliment.
Yeah.
Because he's such a great drummer, you know, and that he thought that I was, you know, worthy for him to join my
Sure.
band, you know.
Well, you're not only that. I mean, you're doing it. No matter who you are, no matter what age, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
No.
As long as you're playing shows, you're doing it. You know.
Oh, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
doing it. And I've got to keep doing it
Yeah.
because that button is turned on and I can't turn it off.
What is it about that button? I can't. I know some people that can't turn it off. I was just talking to a friend of mine as well, who was saying how like, yeah, he hasn't been playing in a while, and he just feels so shitty because he hasn't been playing. He wants to play more and get out there. It's like this crazy need that we all have.
Well, I mean, I worked as a costumer and a costume
Right.
designer for 32 years in the studios,
Yeah.
you know, and that's what I did after I had my other punk rock band. But I was made an offer I couldn't refuse.
No,
and
that sounds like a great gig.
I had two children I had to raise that
Yeah.
I was raising, and I ended up buying a house in Mount Washington with the money I made, and my kids always had the best health insurance, motion picture health and welfare,
Nice.
and I still have it, and I have a pension too.
Great.
So now I can do it. After I retired, my friends are saying, you ought to have a band together. I mean, again, and I kept saying, that's not going to happen, you know. But they kept bugging me for a couple of years,
Yeah.
and I just started playing music with two women in my living room. And one of them just brought a few pieces of drums that people lent her, and she played the drums in my living room,
Nice.
standing up. And
Yeah.
and then the other woman was a school teacher who hadn't played bass in a few years. She had to get her bass out of the attic. And then I hadn't sang in 35 years, and I didn't even know what to sing or how to sing or anything. But that's where it started, and we ended up having our first show at the Smell. We had a
Oh,
show
wow.
at the Smell. Yeah.
Was it as Rosemary Reyes Band?
No, at that time the other women were calling it, and I didn't want to call it that, Lost Witches.
Oh, you didn't want to call it that?
Not really. So anyway, that all we moved on from each other, and I got a real band together after that because
But the bug was turned on.
Yeah, but you know, they got me started. You know, they sort of bugged me, these women, for about 2 years. They're friends of mine, but then all of a sudden I knew I could really do this. You know, after that, I knew I was able to really get good. You know, and because I had the voice. It
Yeah.
came back.
Nice.
It didn't really come back. It's a new life for my voice.
Right.
A different voice than I used to have.
So what was the first band? Let's
It
go
was
back.
the Rosemary Reyes Band.
Oh, that was the original band, really?
That was the name of the band, but
Oh, wow.
it was because I had called it The Truth in the beginning of that band, and then there was a heavy metal band in England at that time called The Truth, and we went, oh no, we can't
Yeah.
have this name now. So everybody said, let's change it to the Rosemary Reyes Band because I wrote all those songs, and so anyway, and my singing is kind of distinctive. My singing is like really radical and screaming and all that. But
Sure.
anyway, so we just named it the Rosemary Reyes Band. And then somebody sent me a flyer a few months ago that they found in an old box of papers. Did I ever tell you this?
Maybe.
They
Just
found
tell
it
it
in an
again.
old box of papers, and I'm playing at the Cafe de Grand, and they put the whole lineup of the week. And then the night I'm playing with Bad Religion.
Oh, wow.
And it says Bad Religion, the Rosemary Reyes Band.
Yeah.
And the night before it was TSOL and somebody else,
Yeah.
And they said, oh, I thought you'd get a kick out of this. And I said, this is a document.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it has a beautiful graphic on it. And the pages are all, like raggedy on the edges. Yeah. And so anyway, then somebody just sent me a flyer that they bought at Amoeba Records in their flyer section. I guess they have a flyer
You have
section.
like old flyers? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I
Oh,
didn't
okay.
either. And he didn't even know me, but he sent me a picture of this flyer. I mean, he knew me because he'd seen me play.
But he didn't know you, like he didn't talk to you.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
But we weren't Facebook friends or anything, but he sent me this on Facebook. And he said, I just bought this. My girlfriend bought it for me at Amoeba for my birthday. And I'm playing, at that show, I was playing with the Mentors. I don't know if you ever remember with El Duce. Oh, they were...
I've heard of them, but I can't think of any music.
Yeah, their
feel like-
music was real hardcore. Well, I don't
I've heard people talk about them in
Yeah,
tours.
they're famous. They're
Yeah.
really famous for the way they played and the stuff they played about, But so that was the show, and I did that. That was found at Amoeba Records, and he sent it to me this morning, just coincidentally, that he wanted to know if I wanted to buy it because he's desperate for money.
Oh,
And
Yeah.
I said no, I didn't want to buy it.
yeah.
I already have a copy from the copy he sent me.
Yeah.
I don't need
But
that
thanks.
copy.
Yeah,
I wanted
weird.
to sell it for $20 and $3 postage.
Jeez.
Yeah, and I said no, that I couldn't. I said I'm strapped for money too. I am. I just signed a contract to have $16,000 worth of dental work done this last week.
Oh, dang.
But I have to do it,
Yeah.
and I can make payments for a long time, for a
Yeah,
very
yeah,
long
yeah.
time. Tote that bail. That's how I feel.
Right, yeah, of
'Cause
course.
I have to have this work done, and at one time I had
16.
plenty of money all the time when I was working.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I used to pay my house taxes, which I go, oh, I got to pay my house tax, and I just write a
And
check.
I just write it.
Yeah, and I don't.
Where
do that.
were you working, by the way? You said the
I worked
studios.
at all
Was
the
it?
major studios in town.
Were you working at ever work at Warner Brothers?
Yeah, many times.
You worked like down in the basement right there,
Yeah,
right
there's a
off
big
of Gate
wardrobe
8.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a big wardrobe department.
I used to
there.
work at Warner Brothers.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
What did you do?
I was in the beginning. I used to just be like a delivery driver. That was my first job when I was 16. So I used to deliver all the computers all over the
Lot.
the lot. Yeah, and then I eventually became the supervisor of I was 18 supervising these 35-year-olds. It was the worst. But I became a supervisor. I just knew I had worked there for so long. I knew how the order was structured. So I scheduled all the computer installations. I don't know if you knew this or not, but all the computers were leased. So every 2 years,
I didn't know that.
yeah, every 2 years you would just get a new computer, or a year and a
I only
half.
worked at Warner Brothers. What happens with big major studios for costumers and probably other departments is that when you're not working on a project, you call them or they call you and go, are you working on anything right
Yeah.
now? And if you're not, well, can you come and help us
Yeah.
out, in their
I
big
see.
wardrobe department? And it's big. It's really big. I
Yeah.
had to go up on
It's
a
huge.
major big ladder, and I worked at Sony out in Marina Del Rey or Playa Del Rey, and their big costume and prop warehouse. And that place, you had to go on a forklift to get up to or scissor lift.
Oh my God.
A scissor
Yeah,
lift to
yeah,
get up to the clothes. I mean, there were so many, because it was MGM.
Yeah.
Sony was MGM, and they still had all that stuff.
Oh my God.
Because, costumers and it's just like a big library.
Yeah.
Of clothes.
Right. Yeah, that was what was so interesting. They just had. I remember we would even install computers at like this facility out by the Burbank Airport. And it was just this place that held props and costumes.
Yeah.
From like all the old classics.
Yeah, and some
Insane.
of the costumes were really like kind of rotten.
Yeah.
But what they would do is like they would come for the authenticity of the costume, and then have them remade with new fabrics.
I see.
But they could find what they wanted there. You know, the real thing.
Right.
It was like Gone with the Wind stuff.
Yeah. All the classic stuff.
Yeah.
Anything you worked on that I would know?
I worked mainly for the first 20 years of my career. I worked mainly in television.
Oh, okay.
And when I first started in television, it was a lot of big variety shows and TV specials. And I worked with a designer who was my first boss, and we just did a lot of TV specials, and he would design all the costumes, and it was just a real big job. I mean, I worked on just a lot of real corny ones, but I ended up working on one that was really beautiful and elegant, and it was Baryshnikov on Broadway, and they all came from New York, the whole cast.
The whole
and
team,
crew.
yeah.
And so I was like the representative for costumes in Los Angeles. So they gave me an office and all of that stuff, and it was so great to work with Baryshnikov.
Yeah.
And it was Baryshnikov on Broadway, so Liza Minnelli was in it, and they did vignettes of all the famous Broadway plays, but they had to have costumes made for every vignette. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, Baryshnikov was so cool. And in those days, you could smoke on the set.
Right.
And one day I was petite, I was young, and I remember I had on a black cashmere sweater with moth holes all over it. And I thought that was the coolest thing, Yeah, it was just a regular pullover sweater with little moth holes all over it. And he comes up to me, and I'm smoking a cigarette, and he takes it out of my mouth. And he puts it in his mouth, and he smokes it for a little while, and then he puts it back in my mouth and gives me these looks, and I'm like about ready to die.
Yeah. Yeah, great.
Yeah, so that's when I had a few memories with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have those things, and then later on I worked on Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that
with
that
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, and all those.
And his
people.
best role ever. Just kidding.
That
that movie's great. Honestly, I like that movie except for Keanu Reeves.
Well, I never liked Keanu Reeves for years and years and years, and finally I'm starting to kind of warm up to him a little bit.
I love him. He's great. I mean, I love The Matrix. I thought he's really good in those.
Yeah, and I worked with the Matrix stuff. I mean, I didn't work on the project, but what I have to do is document the costumes. When I worked at Paramount, that was a Paramount picture.
Yeah.
I worked at Paramount that was my last job at Paramount, and I had to stop. I just didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And I had a really good job there. I was making about $3,000 every week.
Damn.
And I was used to always having plenty of money to take care of my kids and myself, but things have changed now.
Yeah.
The world has changed for me, and we're all seem to be like just struggling,
Yeah.
here and there. Not everybody, of course, because there's so many.
Sure.
In Mount Washington, they just sold a little house next door to me for 1.5 million.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's just I just have a little wooden house in Mount Washington, but it's
Yeah.
in a real nice little canyon. But the house is just a little old wood house.
What is up with Mount Washington? We talked a little bit about Mount Washington and how like it's founded by wizards and scientists or
Well, it's always been a real super cool place to
Yeah.
live, and I love it there so much. It's like paradise when you're there
Yeah.
because it's enclosed. My little house is just in the woods.
Mhm.
The Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy bought all the property behind my house because they were going to make 11 tract homes back there, and all the neighbors got together and we protested that.
Oh wow.
And the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy heard about this, and they just bought the whole thing. And now it's a national preserve.
Really?
Yeah.
Up there, huh?
So that's right. That's my backyard.
So that's why they haven't built anything up there.
They're building some more stuff though. I think now it's been a long time since the Santa Monica Mountains bought that property, but higher above, they're building 3 mansions up there, and they're not really supposed to do that because
Yeah.
I remember like about 20 years ago there was a big story in the LA Times that said stop mansionizing Mount Washington. Well, they're doing it right now, and they're doing it on the side of this hill that has always been natural and beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's real high up. I mean, I just look up and I can see them building.
Yeah.
And so somebody with a lot of connections and a lot of in with whoever they had to be in with, because they dug out this
And there's
old
3 of them.
hills, 3 of them, and they're huge.
Yeah.
And who knows how much those are going to go for. But
Yeah.
that's what I'm going to see now up there instead of just natural,
Yeah.
So anyway, that's happening. But, what am I supposed to do? My house is almost paid for.
How are your neighbors?
Um,
Are they cool people?
I don't really have a lot to do with my neighbors
Okay.
because I worked so many hours for so many years that I would just get home late and leave early in the morning for
Yeah.
many, 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 many years. And now that I'm retired, I barely talk to, I have brand new neighbors actually that just bought the $1 million house
right.
next door,
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
don't know them now.
I see.
But the other people that live there, I knew them. They, Rick Ballard, he owns Acetate Records, and he's doing really well with the bands. They just moved so they could go to a bigger and better house, him and his wife and
Wow.
2 kids.
Good for them.
Yeah, so they have the group The Hangman and
Yeah.
Junkyard.
I haven't heard of Junkyard. I've heard of the Hangman.
They're real popular. They go all over the world. And one of their guitar players that's in both of those bands, Jimmy James, he's a good friend of ours. And so we keep up with them, and it's great, because they're doing really well.
Jimmy James.
He's like the best, most, your jaw drops when you watch him play.
Yeah.
And like one night we were at, I don't know, the Whiskey or somewhere, and he was playing there. And they put a spotlight on him while he was doing his solo. And I never saw such a beautiful, happy face in my whole life as I saw on him. Because he looked up and he's playing like magnificent,
Yeah.
And then he looked up into the spotlight, and I never saw such a pure happiness of a guy playing the guitar.
Yeah. Wow.
But he's a working musician, and he's got a wife and a child, and
Right.
so it does work for some people. For some people, you got to stick with it.
Yeah.